Hello guys and gals, 3 years ago I made a video where I said Yandere Simulator will never be completed, and that is probably the best age title that I've ever written on this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, Yandere Simulator, for anybody that doesn't know, is a game about being a yandere. Yandere Simulator first showed up as an idea on the old 4chan. Let us discuss the game mechanics of a Yandere Simulator. Set in a school, pick a boy, stalk him. Yeah, the FBI is already in on you, so might as well get down to what a yandere is. Ladies and gentlemen, a yandere is a Japanese archetype used to define a character whose love, admiration, or devotion is so strong that it is expressed as an excessive obsession and possessiveness. They are often seen as characters that are crazily in love with someone. Yeah, in the United States, we call that harassment, okay? And usually, if you're ever in the receiving end of a yandere, you get a Riz training order. Now, I'll kindly walk myself out. Ladies and gentlemen, Yandere Simulator is best described as a video game version of if you took Persona's day-to-day cycles, a living, breathing school, and combined it with the mechanics of Hitman, social crowd stealth. On first glance, it actually seems like a pretty interesting idea that could be derived from an indie game developer. But YandereDev, the creator behind it, has spent so long in creating the game that at this point, you've got games like Cyberpunk 2077 out on the market, shamed, rebuilt, rebranded, and resold as a proper title. No Man's Sky, Star Citizen might actually have its first expansion pack upon release, and if I'm not mistaken, we may be 3 years into the life cycle of GTA 7 before Yandere Simulator is ever truly completed. Why? Because this game has an obscene amount of feature creep, an obscene amount of pointless detail to be coded in. In fact, I'll actually let YandereDev describe this entirely himself. The 9th anniversary of Yandere Simulator development. I began developing on March 31st, 2014, so this makes it the 9th anniversary, and this is a 7,000-word blog, not everything we're going to be looking into. And inside this blog, actually, he describes categorizing what Yandere Simulator is. YandereSim's main story mode is about eliminating 10 rival characters. Each of these characters released one by one, so like episodes for a TV show. YandereSim is regularly updated, so is YandereSim a live service like Genshin Impact? Kinda, but not really. It doesn't have microtransactions. Even though YandereSim is not finished yet, you can do a lot of different activities and mess around in it like a sandbox. So I guess YandereSim may be an early access game. Look, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, one thing you have to understand is this game, as far as 10 rival characters, only has one, Osana, since I last covered it, okay? Now, the game's premise is pretty simple. You start off, create a new save file, pick the, affection of your choice. You basically create your character, your I guess, wannabe husbando in this case. To hunt this person down, you find out that a bunch of other people are attracted. So in the first character, Osana's attracted, so you got to figure out a way to hide Osana, and basically make sure that the husbando falls for you. Okay, that's pretty much the general idea. Now you start the game, you pick through a whole variety of kill strategies, which in that case, I will say the game is impressive, but you start to see that the focus of the game is kind of spread, okay? I don't know why we need a select panties screen for now. Seems a little weird. Maybe focus on the core gameplay aspect first, but let's read more into it. There is a 1980s mode which is complete, but it's a very simplistic version of the main game. It's like the 10 characters, but except without all the uniqueness. And obviously the game has been retooled to match the 1980s. Again, the game seems like it could be fun, but it is woefully incomplete. So when people ask about rushing game development, he starts to bring up No Man's Sky. Do you remember Cyberpunk 2077? Have you learned nothing? If your game has issues, it's better to delay the game and keep fixing it until it's ready. Bro, both those games are much larger in scope than Yandere Simulator, and even if we're gonna bully Cyberpunk 2077, yeah, the game was buggy on release, but at least the gameplay loop of driving around the city, finding new loot, and going through a linear story were all still complete upon release, okay? It's just the game was obviously buggy. That didn't negate from the fact that the story was there, the world was there, a lot of things were actually completed. It's just obviously not as polished. Your game is still missing 90% of the goddamn content. So here he starts comparing Hitman and Yakuza. Hitman is a game where you assassinate targets. Yeah, like Yandere Simulator. And then he mentions how Yakuza has like a bunch of goddamn mini games. As you can see, Hitman and Yakuza are very different games. Ask any Yakuza fan why they love Yakuza, and they will gush about how fun it is to do goofy stuff like singing karaoke. Yeah, Yakuza might have a bunch of side stories, but they obviously have a main plot, bosses, an entire gameplay loop to go after. And one thing about Yakuza is it's very similar to old school, like, SNES, NES games, where a lot of those side activities have core gameplay loops that bleed into each other and into the main path as well. Want to make a crap ton of cash in Yakuza? Work the side activities. You'll find out by doing the side activities, you'll be stronger and be much more prepared for the main stuff, okay? But why am I going into other game designs here, all right? He starts to mention Dwarf Fortress, which, by the way, this game was such a meme that for a while people thought that it would actually get a full release before Yandere Simulator. And they were right. Dwarf Fortress is on Steam, killing it right now. Dwarf Fortress is a well-known game about 15 years ago, but I understand that a lot of young people have never heard about it before. Dwarf Fortress was made as a public download in 2002, while it was still in an incomplete state. Does anyone say, damn, this game still isn't finished? People just understand it's the kind of game that's permanently in development. Yandere Simulator is simply one of those games. Yeah, the difference is your game is just a sandbox. With Dwarf Fortress, you could still generate entire, fortresses. You could actually play through a core chunk of the gameplay loop, right? Obviously, they were expanding upon it as time went on. Your core game still isn't even finished. Nobody knows how long it should take to complete this game, because nobody has tried before. Yeah, the world of Yandere simulators and designs have always been tried before. There's people that have been making Yandere-like games. But obviously, if you look at the development history of Yandere games, you'll realize how cursed it is. Nearly half of these games are unfinished. Even the ones that are released are woefully underwhelming. And for the games that even we've referenced on this channel, like Lovesick and Love Letter, have had their own cases of drama that have caused the entire projects to explode. This is a cursed industry. Yandere Simulator is a world first. Nobody else has ever developed a third-person social stealth sandbox-based serial killer simulator set in a school. Yeah, maybe that might be the thing stopping it. Featuring over 100 different features, mechanics, and systems. These are all the features, okay? Maybe this is the reason why your game isn't complete. Maybe you gotta finish the game instead of working on all this, okay? Not everyone can be Chris Roberts. Even Chris Roberts made a lot of good games. You haven't finished one yet. Now, the code for Yandere Simulator has always been a topic of discussion in the community, and for as many videos that exist about YandereDev, there's about as many thought-out, carefully crafted videos from actual programmers about the discussion of YandereDev's actual coding ability. For instance, one of the most hilarious ones that I've ever seen was this private void calculate affection, which if you see these else if statements, yeah, this is just like a trademark of the YandereDev coding style. What YandereDev could write in 16 lines of code, somebody could correct and eventually make it into one line of code. Somebody even gave the idea that just replace it with one line. Affection level, integer math f clamp, affection divided by 25. Yeah, maybe YandereDev could do that. But then, of course, you've also got other points of code that have been showcased where, I shit you not, each digit on the hand has been given a reference, a point. So, for instance, you can see left hand index 1, index 2, index 3. That's not one fucking index finger. That's digit 1, 2, and 3. And of course, instead of reusing some of this stuff to clone onto another character, no, it's referred again, entirely different. So yeah, it's a lot of little tiny things like this that all build up and cause the code to be as inefficient as possible. Which is why even in this gameplay that you are seeing, I am running this underneath a 4090 with a 32 threaded processor, okay? 16 core, hyper-threaded everything. And to understand, okay, even with my system at 1080p, I'm facing stutters. It ain't GPU stutters, even though the geometry in this game is fucked to high hell. No, even the CPU can sometimes be taxed, okay? There are issues in this game. Now, is YandereDev aiming to fix these? Probably not, okay? At the end of the day, YandereDev doesn't want help. He doesn't want any advice. No matter how much people tell him that he could optimize his game any better, he will not listen to it. That job is reserved for when the game is completed. Some unfortunate soul has to be fibered in, and they have to be the one optimizing this game. And let me tell you something right now. I don't wish that on my worst goddamn enemy. Now, whereas YandereDev used to earn somewhere north of $4,000 a month, which is a pretty good earning for an independent game developer making a hyper niche game, that support has dropped drastically below. We're talking to the point where we are sitting at $1,284, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, what caused this massive drop? All right, first off, it's been trending that way. But recently, something has come out which has basically caused this game's entire development to be questionable. Now, back when I initially covered it, one of the interesting things that I read from YandereDev's debunk thread was talking about age of consent. Now, normally, I'm going to be honest with you, when I get told about age of consent, right, I have a rule, you know, just 18 and above. That's it. That's my rule, okay? Anything below 18, I don't talk to, don't converse with. I don't really get into the esoteric debates of, like, what age of consent matters, all right? He basically got hit up with the fact that your game is creepy because the characters are underage, and he responds with, the age of consent is different in every country. So does that mean that the game is only creepy in some countries? Yeah, this guy debates like a Redditor, okay? So just get ready for that. Eventually, they started talking about pedo stuff, and then the conversation turned into abolishing age of consent. And this is where the first time in the conversation I actually felt like we were arriving at an intellectually engaging subject. Some people mentally develop at different speeds. This means that one consent doesn't work for everyone. For example, some people might be mentally developed enough at 18. Some people might be developed at 19 or 20. That's why the concept of the age of consent is slightly flawed. It was an interesting hypothetical thought experiment, so I actually put a thought into it. If the age of consent had to be replaced by something else, what would it be replaced with? Well, it would be convenient if there was a machine you could place on your head that would scan your brain and determine your current level of mental development. If the machine was 100% accurate, then it would be objectively able to determine whether or not a person is ready. The way I phrased it, I said if there was a test, if you pass it, you get a license. Man, maybe debating this hard into this topic wasn't exactly the smartest place to go down. To understand, this isn't the only time that YandereDev has ever had to discuss this topic with people too. This is all the way back from Tumblr, where he's talking about YandereDev and again, the discussion of the age of consent topic. So when it came up, this linked to, I swear to God, a fucking age of consent heat map. That is not something I expected to be seeing today, okay? We've got age of consents all the way from... I don't even want to say it, man. I just feel disgusted, okay? Maybe your debate shouldn't be this thought into, okay? But the reason I'm bringing up age of consent again is because YandereDev has some serious allegations. Now, I don't want to dive too hard into those serious allegations just because that's not a main staple of my channel. I just like to talk about the games and the history behind it. But the reason why I'm bringing this all up is I actually had a massive video about Yandere Simulator. I wanted to really hope that this game would go somewhere. But the reason why it's not going to go anywhere is a couple days ago, YandereDev has apparently been caught interacting in a very charged manner with a minor. Now, a couple days ago, a YouTuber known as MCC made an entire video detailing the alleged grooming allegations of YandereDev, where there were 2 actual calls recorded and a couple messages shown. Now, I'm not going to show you this video. Seems that there has been a DMCA strike on this entire video. And this DMCA strike seems to have come from the actual name of the victim that initially brought these things up. Now, to understand, ladies and gentlemen, there is some belief that this may have been filed, from Alex, YandereDev themselves, which would basically be perjury. But it also seems that the victim in this case seems to have actually wanted to recant or retract or not really bring this situation up even further. So in this situation, the actual victim writes, when Bug, the TikToker in this, started sharing clips of that video on TikTok, they realized they were twisting them. So basically they admit that they, as the minor, DM'd him and not the other way around. They decided it was blowing up the whole way, it was blowing up in a really stupid way, and told everyone involved that I didn't want to use my illegally taken recordings to make a video anymore, implying that the state or location they were in was not part of two-party consent laws, meaning that they obviously couldn't record anything. I don't know the legality of two-party consent when you're admitting to, possible criminal behavior, but then, of course, obviously this started bleeding into their actual life as well, too, especially in school. Which, ladies and gentlemen, they said they don't think that, YandereDev is a groomer, they don't feel traumatized, and they're making this post because they oppose what that, YouTuber we just looked at, Ali, was posting. Now, to understand whether or not, how these allegations go or not, YandereDev did make a post where he admitted to, apologizing, so we'll read this in a bit too. But I just want to say that I do respect wishes from actual victims, and I don't want to ever downplay that kind of stuff. However, in this situation, it's kind of one of those genie in a bottle scenarios. Like, yeah, you should respect the wishes of a victim, but when you out such, I guess you could say, wild allegations like this, and you reveal screen recordings or calls, then it becomes a situation where ethically you have to think about the future. Remember, as a victim, you may be the first and you may not be the first, but if nothing happens, you won't be the last. So realistically, it's one of those Pandora's box, you open the genie and now it's impossible to put it back in. Just because now tons of parties are going to be looking into this and people are going to be rightfully careful for anybody in the future who has to interact with YandereDev. And one thing I want to say is, reading these posts, it almost feels like the person feels guilty for ever engaging with an adult. But the thing is, if the conversations get to the point as it was allegedly shown here, you as a minor are never responsible for what an adult should be doing. Adults should cut communications off 100%. As an adult, I can say all of this always falls upon the older party, right? You are the adult, you know to cut things off. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. It's not a matter of I'm lonely or woe is me. You're an adult. Act like an adult. Cut things off. Otherwise, like in this situation, you are breaching what is potentially really, really illegal. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. But of course, one of the things, some of the messages you can read were rather wild. So for instance, a cosplay fan who is alleged to be YandereDev in these leaked messages, which were actually screen recorded off of the Snapchat app on an iPhone, came out with some of these. I am so lonely and miserable, and depressed and unhappy. Of course, the one time a girl is actually nice to me, I got attached. Now, this is, I guess you could say, a little manipulative sounding. As an adult, and remember, YandereDev is 35 years of age, okay? 35 years of age, you should probably learn to stay away, okay? In fact, writing over here, YandereDev, when talking to who he knows and believes to be 16 years old at the time, writes shit like this. You're the one traumatizing me. The 16-year-old in this case, I'm sorry. This here is trauma. This is abuse. This is power imbalance. I am being emotionally abused by you. This is a 16-year-old person. You have this massive blackmail over me. YandereDev is 35 years of age, okay? Again, you're the adult. You made a mistake. You gotta live with it. Then, of course, you got one situation which I think absolutely blew my mind away. YandereDev allegedly brings out the old TI-83 and starts some calculations here. For instance, yeah, I think that sometimes 17 is 94.4% of 18. So therefore, being attracted to is 94.4% okay. If you took that logic, how low can you go when it reaches neutrality? Jesus Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, YandereDev is not a normal individual, okay? And because of these crazy allegations, which unfortunately seem to be pretty corroborated, because YandereDev made an entire post a couple days ago, I'm sorry. You know when it starts off with an I'm sorry after what we just read? It's bad. Yeah, you probably heard some concerning stuff over the last few days. You might have seen a video that left you feeling worried, disappointed, and wondering what I have to say for myself. There's a part of me that wants to say, no, you don't understand. The video was edited in an extremely dishonest and misleading way. No, I'm not going to focus on that. Yeah, if you wanted to defend yourself, it might be ideal to go down that route. So right off the bat, she let me know that she was 16 at the time, didn't perceive this as a problem. What do I care what her age is? She's just a funny fan of the game who wants to talk to me. We talked for a while, and eventually I started to feel really comfortable speaking to her. I started talking to her the same way I would speak to my boys, like she was one of the guys. I made the same type of vulgar jokes that I make when voice chatting with my other friends, and that was an absolutely unacceptable mistake. No grown-up should ever use adult language or make adult jokes in the presence of a minor. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. Obviously, it goes without saying that this was not okay. This is the point in time when I should have instantly disengaged and ended all contact with her. In any interaction between an adult and a minor, it is the adult's responsibility to put an immediate stop to any behavior. Why? Why didn't you? Now, he did donate $1,000 to Rain, which, honestly is respectable, but at the end of the day, it doesn't disregard from the fact that this behavior doesn't exactly seem out of place. You see why I'm not shocked? It's because when I first heard about this, it's something that, again, it's not shocking to me, okay? Like, yeah, of course YandereDev was a weird guy. The blog post that I read earlier already raised every red flag in my body. Now that it's all come out like this, and I had to read the I'm sorry post, I'm not sitting here shocked. In fact, a video from 4 weeks ago by a channel known as Fun is Infinite that did an incredibly insane deep dive, hour and 32 minutes if you have to kill, on the behavior of Yandere developers, like actual posts and his, stories that he would write, like crazy, fan fictions, if you will, too. It gets insane. I'm 11 minutes in and my jaw already dropped. I can only imagine the kinds of goatsy my brain will be doing by the time I get to even the halfway mark. Now, because of all this, even his most long-time massive supporters have had to kind of back away from this situation. So one of them was Cameron F305, which the future of Yandere development, where he was the lead composer, production assistant, he has to step away. He doesn't condone what happened, and there is no excuse, any circumstance to ever talk to minors like that. His actions were absolutely wrong, upsetting, weird, and not a single inch of me defends what he did. With that, he must clarify something. I posted comments on TikToks the same day, where he did not understand entirely what was going on. Once he realized he was in the wrong, he deletes the comments, okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, it gets even wilder, because even the voice actors for the game have all pretty much unanimously removed Yandere Simulator from their resumes, and they're not working or reprising any roles going on forward, which has effectively caused YandereDev to make his game a silent game at this point, okay? This is just a visual novel at this point without any voice acting. So yeah, not only have a lot of people suddenly left, but it just has become a situation where the future of this project really doesn't seem like it has the financial backing. It doesn't seem like Alex has the technical know-how to make this project come to fruition. And even with all of that, already in jeopardy, the creative aspect of losing your voice actors, people that can help with the music, other artistic avenues, all do not want to touch a product or a project that is headquartered by this sleazeball. Now, I've made plenty of videos talking about individuals on the internet that are a little bit questionable, their interactions with minors and whatnot, and to be honest, I think these situations where Alex does get involved and is allegedly speaking to people underage like this, he needs to absolutely have some investigation on him. The police need to get involved. Because with his statements in the past and this coming to light right now, I feel like the best way to go about forward with this is to get law enforcement legally involved in investigating this guy. And if it does turn out that he is a truly degenerate individual, then maybe Patreon and YouTube need to get involved and see if they want to continue financing or working with a guy like this. But yeah, Yandere Simulator is a game that will never be completed. And unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where it does seem like YandereDev, it really makes sense. It makes sense why Yandere Simulator didn't have any work being really put into it. It makes sense why, since 2020, Osana was like the only character put in. Because for every hour of development YandereDev puts into it, the other 6 hours seem to be spent on Discord talking to people he probably shouldn't be in the first place, allegedly. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, insanity, okay? God damn it. But I'm not going to say that I'm surprised. God, no, I'm not. But ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and yeah, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.